Hello, and welcome to Part 6 of the ATF-Facilitator Certification Workshop. In this part, we'll be reviewing ball and stick rolling. Balls and sticks come in a variety of options and aren't necessarily those limited to the ones suggested in the ATF pack. The ball must be inflatable and can hold upwards of 400 pounds. This makes basketballs and medicine balls great options, but the key is each one of them must be inflatable. The smaller the size, or the greater the pressure inside the ball, the more focal it will be, or the deeper you'll penetrate into the tissues. Sticks or rollers can oftentimes have wheels or knobs, or they may be more like a wooden dowel where they may have a smooth cylindrical surface. It is truly the client's preference. However, we must emphasize that the stick must be hardy and strong. The greater the pressure you apply to the stick, the deeper you penetrate into the target tissues. However, weak sticks can break and cause injury. The goals of this tool, the ball and stick, is to increase the pressure on the target tissue. These are our trigger points, or knots. We want to increase blood flow to that area to enhance the delivery of oxygen and nutrients, so good stuff in. We want to increase lymphatic flow to remove unhealthy tissues and cells that are broken up during the process, so bad stuff out. So blood brings in the good stuffs, the lymphatic flow takes the bad stuff out. And then the other thing that the stick or the ball does is creates a fulcrum, which creates a lengthening or a stretching of the tissues, which improves its elasticity. How we use the ball or stick. We want to apply as much pressure as tolerated on that target tissue. Remember, these are knots. It may be uncomfortable, maybe even slightly painful, but in order to break up that tissue, enhance that blood flow and lymphatic flow, we need to apply as much pressure as tolerated. So increase the pressure on that ball or stick, decrease the number of contact points when you're on the ball, and you can also decrease, again, the size of the ball in order to increase the pressure. While you do this, especially on the ball, try to maintain a posture or neutral spine. In order to do this, you can practice the draw and maneuver, or use the cues of staying long or tall. We want to maintain a big or broad chest while we draw in our shoulder blades together. So whenever possible, we're really concentrating on maintaining posture, strengthening core, and the nice aspect of the ball is we're actually working on stability at the same time that we're working on the self-myofascial release or trigger point therapy with the ball or stick. We also emphasize that while we're doing this, that because we will be breaking up tissues, is that you must drink lots of fluids. And we strongly recommend that you consider doing cardiovascular exercise as both a warm-up and a cool-down when using the ball or the stick for self-myofascial release. Common errors and corrections. First and foremost, persons will find this to be extremely uncomfortable or maybe even painful at some points in times on certain areas. These are trigger points or knots. So in this case, we ask you to go ahead and decrease pressure in the ball, or decrease the resistance, and or increase your contact points. You may get hunching over or bowing over, or even an exaggerated extension of the spine during certain exercises, or even a jackknifing of the hip, much like a hinge. In these cases, again, we want you to draw in and keep the core strong, and you stay long or you stay tall. Sometimes utilizing the stick over bone can be extremely uncomfortable, so we ask that you try your best to stay on the soft tissues. We're not treating the periosteum or the lining around the bone itself, we're treating the musculature around there. However, tracing and working around those bony edges can often be beneficial. So light touch or light pressure over top of the bone, with moderate to heavy pressure over the muscle and soft tissue. When utilizing the ball, some people will complain that they're losing their balance or falling off the ball. What you can do in this case is you can increase the number of contact ball points or just broaden your base to help with your stability. The other thing you can do is, if you cannot do the ball rolling at this point, you can switch over and use the complementary stick roll method. If you're sloppy or uncoordinated in your movements, again, stabilize the lumbopelvic hip complex or your spine by utilizing that draw-in maneuver in the low back and hips, and then slowly progress as you move through each movement. Remember, it's about form and function not necessarily about speed. In summary, the purpose of the ball and stick is to rejuvenate tissue. Okay, the participant will be hitting on those painful trigger points and knots, but this is imperative to work these areas out. We have to work with healthy tissues to help to reestablish that mobility. We ask, however, that you progress as tolerated and that you're decreasing or increasing pressure as appropriate and when needed. Maintain good posture, stabilize that core with the draw and maneuver, and again, working on balance and coordination. Remember to drink a lot of fluids and engage in light cardiovascular exercise. For a detailed video, you may follow this link to see demonstrations of ball and stick rolling. That includes Part 6 of the ATF Facilitator Certification Workshop.